Hello friends, Lightman here with more Fantasy Quest. Sorry this one's a little late compared to the last few vids. A couple of things caused rewrites and delays. Well, during the initial scripting, I started to write an example of the subject matter using some old player characters, which required me to start digitizing the sheets. As you can see here, I'm about halfway through one of them because they were made using version 2 of the rules back in 2006 or so. I'm somewhere between versions 3 and 5 now due to the loss of that USB drive with version 4 on it back in 2017. Well, that whole video is coming and will probably be in 2 to 3 parts. On that note, I just got in the mail an adapter to hopefully read my old drive, so I might be able to recover some more stuff. I also got in the mail a fun set of dice that will be completely explained in the next video. One last bit of housekeeping before we go on, and that is my It Came From Planet Earth coupon is still good. It's still good for one more week until July 31st. If you go to It Came From Planet Earth or ICFPE on eBay, links in the description and pinned comment below, and use my coupon code Lightman0359, all caps, you get an additional 10% off all toys, games, and comics. This is in addition to the sale we're running starting Monday, July 24th and running till Monday, August 7th, in which you can get 40% or more off of everything in the store. My coupon code gives you an additional 10% on top of that if you get it within the next week. Links are in the description. With all that out of the way, now to show you the actual purpose of this video, something I was able to recover by searching through, of all things, my old Facebook group for this game. I thought I had lost this. It's the first truly Final Fantasy Dragon Quest crossover class I made. Little backstory. In Dragon Quest, if you're familiar, there's a recurring character trope of the merchant. You normally get either as a character you can make or a character that is a loose ally to the party, or just a class you can enter. You get a character that gets discounts at shops. He randomly finds treasure on the ground after battle, can summon random things like old people and shops in the middle of combat. If you don't believe me, go on YouTube and look up Tornico Taloon in Dragon Quest IV. He is hilarious, and he's one of the main reasons for this class. In Final Fantasy, however, there's the Gambler, who is also a, kind of businessman type class. Just look at Setzer Gabiani from Final Fantasy VI. Both classes have a lot of shop interaction, and in combat, they're just kind of random BS go, in a way. So I decided to combine the two because the merchant, well, they have some of the same support abilities. The merchant is all support and has almost no combat abilities, and the Gambler, because or Final Fantasy doesn't focus, at least the early ones, on non-combat abilities. They were all combat. It was just the slots and throwing cards at people. So I decided, well, most successful businessmen are dirty gamblers anyway, so let's mix the two and call it the entrepreneur. So as you see here, I really should have Tornico Taloon as the as the male representation of this class, but instead I went with all Final Fantasy X characters. Owaka at your service, and the three ladies from Final Fantasy X-2 in their Lady Luck classes. So, going over to the top left here, we see a stat block that, if I throw Cayman back up here, there he is, you will see goes into the class block down in the lower right center of the character sheet. The Entrepreneur has attack and item as default abilities, and their standard command that, as long as Entrepreneur is either a support job or your main job, they can always do Gamble. This works exactly like it does in Dragon Quest, in Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy V. How you have a main class and a support class. That's where I got this whole concept from. And if Entrepreneur is your core class, these next two abilities, and you've earned them, these next two abilities are always in their command window, if you think of it in video game terms. They can always use them regardless of what their support classes are. And that is a very video gamey concept I do bring into this tabletop game. If one of your classes doesn't have attack, like a lot of mages don't, you can't attack. Like, you have to use techniques or skills in order to actually attack. But it's two special abilities. We'll get into that in other videos. The two special abilities that it gets are Bribe and Tantalize. I will show you those a little later in this discussion. We'll just go down the list. Bribe is give the enemy gil to make them go away, and Tantalize, if I'm remembering correctly, again, I'm looking at this for the first time in a while with you guys. I thought it would be fun. That's why I'm totally off script. Tantalize, I believe, is a charm or confusion ability from the Lady Luck from Final Fantasy X-2. Its reaction is SOS Spellspring, which means if you are in danger condition, which is 10% or less of your maximum HP, you get Spellspring, which I believe is all MP costs of abilities is 0. And then it has 6 support abilities that it can learn throughout the course of its career. I guess they are job classes. The first one is critical. It increases your critical hit chance. Next one is double items. When you are in battle or searching through treasure chests or doing any sort of looting, if the Entrepreneur is the one that's rolling for the loot, the items are doubled. Just straight up. It's one of the I cheat because, I'm kind of worthless in combat otherwise abilities. Next is double XP, which is what it says on the tin. The Entrepreneur, mainly because they suck so hard and are lucky, earn double XP in combat or from missions. They're always looking for a way to get ahead, so that's how... It's an ability of the Lady Luck, but that's how I justify it. They are always on the lookout for anything they can exploit at any time, which is why they get double items, double XP, and if we skip to support 5, Gillionaire, double gil rewards for looting. There's also Eye for Distance, which we'll see it later on, but I believe it allows them to know exactly how far it is to the closest cache of treasure. And Nose for Treasure lets them know if there's treasure left in the general vicinity that can be acquired. And their movement ability of Padfoot makes them silent. It's kind of like a D&D Thieves move silently. Uh, it's based on the Dragon Quest ability of half encounters. Um, I'll see how I described it later on, but the random encounter rules are currently in flux. It probably will end up giving a stealth bonus to make it harder to detect the entrepreneur by enemies that use sound as their main trigger, which that is a thing. Sound, vision, using magic, and a couple other triggers are all ways that enemies can notice you. Like some enemies only see via the mist. The elementals from Final Fantasy XII are like this, how they go berserk if you cast spells near them. Padfoot wouldn't affect that. I just went off on a tangent. But there you go. There's some spoilers for future videos. And they also have a special ability of being able to carry any amount of triple triad cards or sphere break coins without taking up item slots. Normally, said things take up item slots. And yes, triple triad as it exists in Final Fantasy 8, 14, and on the Play Online web app exists. I'm not quite sure about Tetramaster because hackers aren't sure how that game works, let alone making it work on tabletop. But Triple Triad is very easy to describe and use with props IRL on a table. So it exists. And same with Sphere Break, which is the weird coin collecting math mini game from Final Fantasy X too. Limit Break is limit reels. We'll get to that on the bottom. The whole reels thing is fun. I gotta find it, but I even made a physical prop to help you spin the slot reels. Trance, it has no additional trance abilities aside from the normal haste, safe, and protect, or haste, safe, and shell, which all characters get when they trance. Yes, trance like in either Final Fantasy IX or Terra's morph ability from Final Fantasy VI. That's a form of trance, as is the super high tension state that you can get in Dragon Quest 8 and 9 and probably other Dragon Quests, but those are the two I remember it in, where you just do enough to piss you off, essentially, to raise your tension up to 100%, and sometimes you unlock new abilities, sometimes you get special statuses, like that red mage I was showing earlier, Mr. Kamen. If you look closely, he has his trance effect is double and triple, which means he can cast spells either 2 or 3 times for free when he's in trance mode, but they still cost ATB to cast. The extra castings just don't cost MP. Overdrive type is ally. Whenever the entrepreneur takes an action in combat, it gains 3% towards tension. And at 100% tension, you hit trance or can perform a limit break. Them taking damage or them dealing damage does not increase their tension, only 3% every time they take an action. Just like the ally overdrive type in Final Fantasy X. Move and jump +0. Base move and jump is determined by your race. For humans or Humes, it's 3. And for most races, it's 3. Viera get +1 jump. I believe Ronso get +1 movement. Yeah, most are 3 though, which represents 3 inches or 3 squares or 3 hexes or 90 millimeters of movement on the battlefield, and as a free action. That will be described in greater detail in a video on combat mechanics. Back to the Entrepreneur. It has base 10% evasion and 0% magic block. Again, going back to Cayman, we can see that the Red Mage also has a bonus to evade. Right now, this level up section here, that's kind of in flux right now. Right now, that applies as a discount to the AP you have to spend to increase any of your attributes, which can only happen when you level up. It's normally 10 AP times your current attribute score, and in this case, they get no bonuses to that. It costs them 10 across the board, and no statistic modifiers currently. Starting races. In fact, this whole section here that I have, there we go, highlighted, almost. Yeah. This is something that is in every race, class, and organization. How character generation works roughly is in any order you choose what organization you want to be part of, what region you want to start in, and or what race you want to be. And the first 2 you choose determine the third. So the Entrepreneur isn't specifically linked to any one particular race. Like, no races are any better at being gamblers and merchants than any other currently. So race doesn't matter as long as you're starting region and organization gel with being a merchant or an entrepreneur. Organizations, same thing. Currently, there's no organizations that specifically like entrepreneurs or gamblers. There might be a merchants alliance later on that will allow you to start as an entrepreneur regardless of where you are. But in general, the only way to start as a entrepreneur is to be from the towns of Baccarat, Coastal, Endor, the Gold Saucer, Luca, Pickham, Treno, Eliahan, or Jador. Those are the towns where either excessively rich people, gamblers, or both exist. And yeah, as long as you're starting from there, you can start as an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you need to find an entrepreneur soul sphere. There's no way to earn your way into being an entrepreneur. You either have to be from an area that starts it or have the soul sphere. And the soul spheres are similar to the dress spheres from Final Fantasy X-2, the soul crystals from Final Fantasy 3 and 5, and you got monster souls that you could use as a form of class as a random loot drop in Dragon Quest VII as well. They work like all those combined. You complete a mission or defeat a gambler in combat to the point where he or she cannot be revived. and you might get an entrepreneur soul sphere. More than likely, you get one for completing a task for a very successful merchant or gambler. Um, or you win one in a game of chance. That's a very entrepreneur thing to do. But as you see, there's a promotion requirement here. If you learn 8 gamble abilities, 8 steal abilities from the thief, and 8 control abilities from the Beastmaster, you can become a ranger. You can thank Dragon Quest 6 for that one, I believe. Or no, sorry, yeah, I think you can thank Dragon Quest 6 or 7 for that weird combination there. And right below that, you can see the inspirations I took for this form of the entrepreneur. Lady Luck from Final Fantasy X-2, Setzer Gabiani from Final Fantasy VI, Reeve Kate Sith Tuesti from Final Fantasy VII, Selphie Tilmet from Final Fantasy VIII, Waka from Final Fantasy X, the Merchant from Dragon Quest III, Owaka from Final Fantasy X and X-2, and Tornakota Loon from Dragon Quest IV. Now we get down into some stuff I was hinting at in the character sheet video. And as you can see, you can't see because you don't know what weird state this game is in right now. But in a nutshell, how the Zodiac license board works, every race and every class has a license board that is assigned to them, and you can choose either the license board of your race or your class. Sagittarius. Oh yeah, I was gonna go into a spiel how it's the generic one. No, it's not. Sagittarius is one of the special license boards from Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. I believe it is the machinist class. Like, it has a lot of guns and tricksy abilities. I haven't played a lot of the Zodiac Age. Its paradigm is mercenary. This is one that I had to extrapolate this one. Instead of the 6 paradigms that Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2 had, there are 7. There's the 6 normal ones: Ravager, Commando, Medic, Synergist, Saboteur, and Sentinel. And then there's one I came up with, the Mercenary. Each character had 3 paradigms that they were really good at, and the other 3 that they kind of sucked at. Well, I took those 3 that they kind of sucked at and combined it from all 8 characters that you can play as across the 2 games. So this counts Sarah and Noel from 13-2. I took their bad Crystariums and just made them all into the Mercenary, which is not really good at anything, but can do a little bit of everything, which is what the entrepreneur is all about. That's also the paradigm of humans and freelancers. Now, knowledge talent. Knowledge talent and proficiency talent, these are both probably going away and becoming disciplines of the mind. But currently, entrepreneurs are good with knowledge current events, which allows them to know the gossip and news of the local town they're in. From talking with clients and people at the gambling hall, and negotiate, which is used to cut a deal, to potentially lower the cost of things in shops and whatnot. Craft talent. This is now a discipline of the hand. Gem cutting. It allows them to make jewelry, rings, like any like things with precious metal and gems that aren't weapons or armor. It allows them to craft various types of relics and accessories. Um, a lot of the things they can equip, as you will see a little further down. Um, gather talent of scavenging. This is now a discipline of the land and is used. It's both excavating and scavenging. It allows them to basically dig through garbage and graves to find useful stuff. You know, merchant don't care where the junk he sells comes from. And the personality skill or discipline of the soul, acquisitiveness, which is the skill of the thief in Dragon Quest IX. And I believe the ability of... Oh no, he had charisma. Never mind that. Yeah, it allows some stealing abilities and a couple other little sneaky abilities, which when I get the disciplines all sorted out, hopefully when I get my old hard drive, assuming it's not dead, into this adapter, I can pull all that off, and I'll be able to show it to you guys soon without having to rewrite it all. I have some of it on my hard drive right now, but I'm not sure how, like, in what state it's in. And then weapon skills, or now disciplines of war. Again, those terms, if you're familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, they'll ring a bell. Knife fighting, that is fighting with daggers, knives, and whatnot. Implements, which is tools, wands, scales from Final Fantasy XII, and similar things. Fisticuffs, which is unarmed combat. Thrown weapons, which I think that's called throwing now. But either way, darts, cards, super balls, all that random BS Go type stuff that that gamblers are known for. And tools, which I believe are in implements now. These are things like giant gardening shears, chainsaws, sledgehammers, things like that. Things that you would normally use as a tool. Yeah, entrepreneurs can use those. And now we go down here to, these are the licenses the entrepreneur starts with. So in addition to the weapon skills, so for weapons, they start with the license, regardless of what license board they have, of daggers, cards, knives, knuckles, percussion instruments, toys, and measures. Daggers and knives use knife fighting, which I believe is now called Snickersnee. Cards use thrown weapons. Knuckles use fisticuffs. Percussion instruments use implements. And measures use tools. Measures are it's hard to describe. In Final Fantasy XII, some of them were sextants or astrolabes or other weird measuring devices that somehow allow a magical attack. And in the Dragon Quest games, there is the Abacus of Virtue, which is a staff with an abacus on the top of it that allows you to cast the arrow spell, or Infernos, when you use it as an item. Yeah, there's some fun stuff in in this due to my crazy crossoverness. Offhand, this is where you would normally keep your shield. Fantasy Quest doesn't care whether you're right-handed or left-handed, just what you have in your primary hand and your offhand. Some tools and implements can also go in your offhand at the cost of a protective item. And the offhand equipment that the entrepreneur can equip are bangles, bracelets, and rings. For body, they can equip basic armor, which is anything whose name includes the word armor. That's how all these work. Is there a difference in real life between daggers and knives? No. There's really no difference between daggers, knives, and swords. It's just the native tongue of the person that's wielding them. That's a whole tangent I won't get into, but in Fantasy Quest, daggers tend to be more stabbing weapons, and knives tend to be more cutting implements. They're both single-handed small weapons that use the snickersnee or knife fighting ability. The other main difference is in which classes can equip which ones. The entrepreneur is one of the rare that can equip both. Some can only equip daggers. Like warriors can only equip daggers because it's a weapon of war, where a knife can be used by an engineer or an entrepreneur, as you see here, or an alchemist, because it's a kitchen utensil. It's a utensil or a tool you use in the shop. Same with bangles and bracelets. They're technically the same thing. I'm sure that a jewelry expert is now yelling at me for saying bangles and bracelets are the same. In Fantasy Quest, they're not. Same with, if we look down, armor. This is anything from simple plate armor to leathers. Again, if the equipment is called something armor, Zenithian armor, iron armor, leather armor, it's considered armor. Cloaks are just what you see on the tin. They are cloaks. They might actually end up going in a different slot, because I think I now use a neck slot. If I do, then cloaks go in the neck slot, not in the body slot. Clothes are, basic clothing. Costumes are special costumes like Nutkin suits, Moogle suits, jester costumes, things like that. Gear or gi. These are specific, like warrior or martial arts gear. Like they're, as opposed to normal clothing, gear tend to be more tight-fitting and rugged outdoor wear. Like you say you put on your camping gear and not your camping clothes. That type of stuff. Mail is, mail. It's it's armor made of multiple segments. So chain mail, ring mail, scale mail, mithril mail, and vestments. Vestments, while you can argue they're accessories, they've always been a body slot equipment. They are the sheets of cloth worn over armor or robes. I also put vests in the vestment slot. So any type of like partial shirt, and importantly, its name ends in vestment or vest, is in the vestment slot. Now, things they can put on the head. So you can see there's a lot. Bandanas, berets, caps, circlets, crowns, hair ornaments, hats, helms, scarves, tiaras. I did skip over a couple there, and scarf if I do a neck slot, which I think I do now, scarf is in the neck slot as well as cloaks, so you have to choose one or the other. And you might think eyewear and masks, those shouldn't be head slots. You know, you can wear a mask and a hat at the same time. No, not one, because they're always, with a few exceptions, always a head slot item, even when you have accessories. Unless you don't have head slots, then everything's an accessory, like it was in 10.2. But yeah, they're head slot items. So the silver glasses, the white and black masks, the tiger mask, those are all full head items. Arms. These go on both arms and take up, like, as you see, the gloves slot. Armlets, which, okay, armlets, bangles, bracelets, what's the difference? Bracelets are a single ring that goes around one wrist. Bangles are kind of a sleeve of bracelets, but again, one arm. Armlets are thicker, almost half bracers that go across both arms. Think what Wonder Woman wears. Those are somewhere between armlets and gauntlets. Where gauntlets are full hand and arm armored gloves. Bracers wear a little higher up on the arm. For an example of a bracer, imagine an archer's glove. That's a bracer. And then wrist guards are your standard martial arts hand guards. So they cover the back of the hand and down to the mid wrist. I don't know why I'm holding my hand. You can't see this, but it helps me describe it. They go from about the mid wrist to the back of the hand. Yeah, and all those entrepreneurs can equip. And then feet, anklets, boots, and shoes. Yes, if you're wearing magical anklets, you don't get the benefits of magical shoes. And no, that's what these slots are for. You can still wear a shirt if you're wearing armor, a cloak, or a chocobo costume. You just don't get the benefits from it. You have to choose the magical benefits of one or the other when you're equipping. That's all this means. You can stack all the crazy costuming you want. You only get the benefits of one. Yeah, this is an older sheet because relics and accessories have been combined into one, and I took the neck slot out. So amulets, scarves, and cloaks, as well as capes and a couple other things, are now in the neck slot. Because there's also gorgets, which are an armored. Again, I'm making gestures with my hands, putting them across my own neck, like you can see this. But they're that bit of armored collar that you see some suits of armor have, or that in fantasy, sometimes priests that are worried about being assassinated, like really corrupt priests will wear, or really corrupt politicians. And yeah, amulets, belts, earrings, and makeup, charms, lore, and orbs. Those are all the relics they can equip. Relics are accessories. I think when I started doing this, I wanted them to be separate, but decided, they can all just be accessories. Now we get down to starting gear. This is modified by your starting organization, your starting race, and your starting town. they can give you alternate or additional equipment and whatnot. Like if you start as a member of Soldier, you might get a Buster Sword. If you start as a member of Seed from Final Fantasy VIII, you have an option to start with a Gunblade, because that's Seed's specialty, creating Gunblade users, amongst other things that we won't get into right now. But Entrepreneur can start with cards or dice as their special weapon. Both of them, let's see, I see an asterisk there. So dice have a battle power of 12. Aha, okay. Yeah, that's how it works. So cards have... Oh, yeah, that's how cards work. So cards, you literally take a deck of cards and draw and this is described in the cards section. You draw a number of cards equal to the number of hits you get, and the total face value of the cards, with any royalty being worth 10, and aces being worth 11. You add up that face value, and that's the battle power of the attack. And it has an accuracy of 104, a range of 2 squares, so you don't have to be right up on the enemy. 1 opened and no link slots. So just like a very basic weapon or piece of equipment from Final Fantasy VII, it has 1 slot that you can put a piece of Magicite into. And normal growth. And gives you +1 style when you equip it. Dice are base battle power 12, and you roll 2d6 to see how many times they hit. And the range is melee. That might change. And the rest of the stats are exactly as cards. And for protection, the Entrepreneur starts with basic clothes, which has a defense of 4, an evade of 4%, 0 magic defense, 5 magic block, 1 open, and 2 linked slots. So a total of 3 total Magicite slots, and normal growth, +1 style, and a bonus of 15 hit points. I believe you can thank either Tactics Advanced or Final Fantasy XII for that HP bonus, because in those games, armor didn't grant defense or just defense. It also increased your hit points as its main purpose. They also start with a leather hat, 2 defense, -1 evade, 6 magic defense, 0 magic block, 1 open, no linked, 1 growth, 1 style, and you see down there in the total, that's the total of the gear you start with. Now we go into some of the mechanical descriptions of the abilities. So the AP cost is learned, which means you start with it and you always have it as a gambler. And as long as you've learned at least 1 gamble ability, you can use the gamble action ability as a support ability. Core means you only have it for as long as this class is your core class or one of your support classes. The moment you cease being a gambler, you lose the Limit Reel's Limit Break, which is a level 1 limit break, just like Braver or Boost Jump or some of the other basic level 1 limit breaks in Final Fantasy VII Original, and the levels of limit breaks work exactly like that. With a little thrown in from Final Fantasy XII. where you can store up multiple levels of limit break. Like if you have level 4 quickening, which is 4 limit breaks stored up, you can either unleash 4 level 1 limits or 1 level 4 limit if you know it. And range, vertical, and area of effect is as it's various because it's all based on what you rolled. You follow the rules for slots below, but using the random reels chart and the limit reels result table. All effects rolled happen in order of results table from top to bottom. Dud only happens if no other results come up. I will explain how that works when we get to it. It is at the very bottom of this sheet, and we are about a third of the way there. All right, page 2. All that crap I was saying, yeah, I'll explain it later. Yeah, here it is. So, first of all, these are your reaction, support, movement, and combo abilities. Critical. Costs 160 AP, is a support ability. The character always scores critical hits. For attacks that can score hits, if one is rolled, add 1 additional success factor. So, for 160 AP, you always have piercing on normal attacks, meaning you ignore defense. Or if a spell or ability triggers a random status effect, you always trigger it. Double items. Costs 100 AP. It's a support ability. Double the number of items attained from any source other than trade, purchase, or mission awards. Which means when you're using gather disciplines or enemy looting or things like that. Treasure chests, it just magically had twice as many items in it, if that is possible. Of course, it doesn't double artifacts. There is only one Mazamune, after all. It is an artifact. Double XP. The character gains double the normal XP rewards for 80 AP. Oh, and for AP, similar to in Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy VIII and some of the other games where you got both AP and XP, and they didn't just make AP your XP like they did in 10 and in later games. You get roughly 1 AP per 10 to 100 XP that the monster is worth, depending on how annoying it is. Like monsters that make you think and where you have to use a lot of tactics because they have a lot of elemental resistances and can inflict statuses and have a lot of annoying abilities, like the Welk from Final Fantasy VI, or most final bosses, or things like that. Those tend to be worth more AP than XP. Or, well, more AP in relation to XP, where things that just hit like a truck, and like they don't do much, but you have to do a lot of damage to them, and they hit like a truck. Things like behemoths and some dragons, golems, things like that, they tend to be worth more XP and less AP. Eye for distance. Oh, doubles all perception ranges for 60 AP. That's a good cop-out for me, because I don't think at this point I had determined what perception ranges are. I think it's actually based on your movement and your spirit, possibly. Hopefully that is in the stuff that was lost, or that was on the hard drive that I might be able to recover, because I have to figure that out. Nose for treasure. Double all item rewards from gathering. Okay, that makes a little more sense. So yes, if you have both double item and nose for treasure, yeah, that's times 3 items from gathering. When you double a doubling, it is a tripling. That was something I was going to explain in the video that I was going to make today, but it's going to come out a little later this week or very early next week. When you have two things that say double it, it's a tripling, not a quadrupling. Because, when it's multiplication is additive. So, if I have one and it's doubled and I have another one that's doubled, I still have that base 1. So it's 3 instead of 4. It sounds weirder coming out of your mouth, but you add all the multipliers up. Think of a times 2 multiplier as a plus 100% multiplier, which is how I try to word things going forward. Instead of saying it doubles it, it gives you plus 100%. So Nose for Treasure and double items would both give plus 100% items. And double XP would give you plus 100% XP. Gamble Combo allows the use of gamble abilities in combos. This is one of the things that takes Chrono Trigger into account. And there was also stuff along these lines in Final Fantasy IV The After Years, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, Final Fantasy XII in a way, and Dragon Quest IX, and Dragon Quest IV if you count the Thordane spell. There are some abilities that can be performed by multiple characters. One of the... If you have a combo ability and an ally of yours performs an action that can trigger one of your combos, you can perform your action and combine it with theirs to perform a better attack. Gambling is a bad example because I'm not sure how many combos there actually are with that, but a very common example is the Aura and Aga spells. If I know fire and you know fire, and I know black magic combo or red magic combo, and you cast fire 4, I can cast my fire 5 and combine it as a reaction with your fire 4 to make Fira 9, which uses my stats plus your stats with a bigger area of effect and the power scaling of a level 9 spell as opposed to a level 4 or 5 spell. Again, that will be in a video coming up within the next month. How reactions, combos, and gambits and all that fun stuff work. Padfoot allows movement over trap tiles without setting them off and ignores terrain-based stealth penalties. Okay, it's the I think the anti-trap ability from the Thief of Final Fantasy V. And I'm pretty sure what I did was the merchant got Padfoot in the Dragon Quest games, which literally is just an encounter half ability for a limited time. I think for the level of the dungeon you're on, or for a minute in game time. So I just combined it with the Thief's ability of the same name. Gillionaire doubles any Gil awards from sources other than commerce and mission awards. I will unify that those definitions because trade, purchase, and commerce sound like different things, but they're not. Both double items and Gillionaire both mean at a shop. So you don't double Gil awards for selling things at a shop, but for Gil you might get after combat or while gambling. Yeah. And SOS Spellspring, Well, I'm 1 for 6 or something. I was right there. When you're in critical, which is less than 10% HP, everything costs 0 MP. Okay, now we get to some special. There's more giant walls of text. Here's one of their weapon skills. This is an older weapon skill. The cards, which is now thrown weapons. But I can get into explaining this. AP cost 100x. X is your current. Oh, X is the level of the weapon skill or discipline of war that you're trying to attain. So cards 100 cost, or cards 1 cost 100 AP, cards 2 cost 200 AP, and so on. The pound sign here, or if you insist, the hashtag, it's the pound sign. It means math. In the next video, I will be showing you the squares and roots table, and in fact, for fun, I will show it to you now. That was going to be the part of the topic of today's video. That monstrosity is based on a joke that I put into the mechanics of the game. The games were made by a company called Square Enix. In Final Fantasy VI, the world is square. So I decided, why not try to put a little bit of dumb math in here and make everything based on squares and roots. So, in fact, this chart is very useful right now. If you have cards 4, as you can see, base 4, the scale is 16, the factor is 2. The factor is what that pound sign is. So I will get out of squares. So cards 4 is, so the factor is 2. So the range of your cards is increased by 2 times the factor of your card level, or 2 times 2, 4. Cards normally have a range of 2. If you have card throwing or throwing skill 4, your cards now have a range of 6. Vertical is increased by the factor, so the vertical goes from 0 to 2. Vertical is the distance in height that the target can be in order for you to hit them. With some attacks, the vertical is equal to the range. Like with melee attacks, the vertical is 1. With cards, because you need a good angle of attack with them, vertical is 0 unless you're really skilled. And area of effect is plus 1/2 of the factor of your throwing discipline. So if you have cards 4, if you have cards 4, the AoE goes up from single target to AoE 2, which means now you can hit 2 targets next to each other, like in a 10-foot radius or in a 2-tile cross, like in Final Fantasy Tactics. And then you add x squared, or the scale of your card skill to weapon damage. So you add 16 to your card's hit percentage, so it's 16, or not hit percentage, to their battle power. So remember, you draw 2 cards, and add their face values together. Then if your card skill is 4, you add 16 to it. Then you add your card skill to the weapon's accuracy. So it's normally 102% accurate. This would make it 106% accurate. Then you add the square root or the factor to its crit percentage. So you would add 2% crit. And as is seen here, to vertical limit. Add 2 times the factor to the card's range. Add half of the square root or half of the factor to the weapon's area of effect. That's how my mentality was working back in 2012. I will, when I was the last time I wrote this, I will clean that up. There's a teaser on how combat works in a way. Now we get to these are the actual gamble abilities. So again, if you think back to how it works like in a Final Fantasy or a Dragon Quest game, under the gamble command, this is what's in that menu. These are the core abilities that you can use when gamble is one of the abilities that you have junctioned, which is a fancy way of saying equip. But you can junction things other than physical gear. You can junction the souls of dead warriors, i.e. soul spheres, or the souls of gods, materia, to yourself. And you can also junction commands. Yes, I got the term from Final Fantasy VIII, but I'm expanding on it a lot. So the abilities of card mod, collection, dice, felicity, luck, slots, and gill toss are all in the gamble command. So as long as you have gamble equipped somehow or junction somehow, you can use these abilities. Card mod. It costs 0 MP, or actually, gamble being a non-magical ability technically costs technique points. But when I wrote this, there were no TP. As we can see, here under the statistic modifiers, TP did not exist yet. So again, we'll go back up here real quick. All gamble abilities take 1 ATB or active time boost. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition, that's 1 standard action. You get a number of standard actions equal to the factor or the square root of your level. So that Cayman I showed you, he's a level 3 red mage. He would get 1 ATB because the square root of 3 rounded down, which is what this chart shows you. It's all rounded down, is 1. So he would get 1 ATB. At level 4, he would get his second ATB. So all gamble abilities automatically perform their primary function, and secondary effects must be rolled as normal. So we now go into card mod. The range is cards, costs 0 MP or TP. It turns triple triad cards into items or sphere break coins into gil. Yes, Gillionaire applies to this. This is the card mod ability of Quetzalcoatl from, I think it was Quetzalcoatl, from Final Fantasy VIII, where the ability below is the card ability from Final Fantasy VIII with a new name because, well, too many things are called cards. If you have a triple triad card, the gambler or the entrepreneur can call upon the magic of big business and random BS go to literally tear the card up, destroy it, perform some mumbo jumbo, and turn it into another card, probably by invoking a god of chaos or fortune, like Cactar or Doom Train or Master Tonberry. Collection. It costs 40 times the rank you're trying to get, and yes, you have to buy them in sequence. You can't go from having Fire 0 to gaining fire 10 just by, or in this case, collection 10, just by spending 400 AP. You have to get collection 1 through 9 before you get 10. It has a 0 TP or MP cost and 1 ATB. Its range, this range vertical AoE, this is pretty standard. The range of things is normally 2 times the factor of the ability rank. Either the vertical or the AoE, depending on if it's supposed to be a single target ability in general or a big multi-target ability, one of them will be half the factor and the other one will be the factor. In this case, the vertical is the factor, so it has a very high vertical limit. So things that are not on the same level as you, because Fantasy Quest, just like Final Fantasy Tactics, does use a 3D battleground. You actually can break out all the terrain you have if you play, Warhammer or D&D. You can break out all the terrain, and it actually means something if it's on multiple levels. And then its area of effect is half the factor, rounded down minimum 1. So until you get to level 16, in which your factor is 4, then you can start targeting 2 things at a time with collection. It turns enemies into your choice of a triple triad card, a sphere break coin, or a collector medal. Which, yes, those are the medals collected by the King of Small Island. Mini medals. The accuracy is your luck, plus the rank of collection, plus the percentage of damage that has already been dealt to the target. Again, this is based directly on the Quetzalcoatl ability of card, where the percentage chance was based on how much damage that was dealt to the enemy. And if the target's HP is at lower than your collection percentage, so if you're at collection 4, if their HP is at less than 4%, automatic. So yes, if you have collection 100, guaranteed hit on, 100, square root of 100 is 10. Half of that is 5. 5-inch radius on a battlefield automatically turns things that can be turned into cards into cards, or sphere break coins, or mini medals. Now, there's a typo. You do not gain XP for collected enemies, but just like in Final Fantasy VIII. But you do gain gil, AP, and items, which are all affected by... Well, AP isn't, but gil and items are affected by both double items. Oh yeah, by double items. So yeah, you trade XP for twice as much gil and items and a cool item. And mortals, which is a creature type of player characters, essentially. Anything that is sentient and can talk to you, that isn't a dragon or undead, essentially, are immune to collection. Mortals are a very specific creature type, and I will get into creature types, but just to know, if you can play as it, it's a mortal. Then we got dice. It's a pretty cheap ability, 20 times the level. Its range is always 1. Its area effect is always 1, because it's always a single target. It actually costs TP, not MP, equal to its level. You roll a d6 plus any... your dice factor d6. So if you have dice 1, you roll 1d6, dice 4, 2d6, dice 9, 3d6, etc. This is the only time you use a 6-sided die in Fantasy Quest that I can think of. Plus any bonuses from having the dice ability, for the dice equipment, i.e. this, or fixed dice. The result is the number of separate attacks on the target for luck plus your dice battle power damage as a physical attack. So whatever your luck attribute is. So if Cayman here, his luck is 22, so he would do with a dice of 3. He would do 25 damage, and per hit, and each hit would be, and you would get a number of hits equal, with dice 3, you would get 1d6. So 1d6 times 25 damage. Yeah, and it is physical attacks, so it targets your absorb and evade, and is affected by the status of protect. Felicity costs 40 AP to learn. It's a one and done ability. You learn it. It costs 8 TP and 1 ATB to use. Affects all allies. As a temporary status effect, whose duration is up in the air at this point. I'm not sure how I was going to determine status effect durations. It probably just lasts until the end of battle, because since it doesn't save it, it raises their luck by 1 as a status effect. It doesn't stack, because it's just luck plus 1 is the name of the status effect, and status effects of the same name overlap with each other. And for 30, there's also the luck thing, which costs 8 TP, affects self, which means it affects you, the entrepreneur, and it raises luck by 4. Yes, if you use Felicity and luck, because it's a luck plus 1 separate and a luck plus 4 separate, it is plus 5. Now we have the big one for slots. So much that it has its own thing down here. Being an entrepreneur, you automatically learn slots as your first gamble ability, and you have to learn one of the reels. Costs no TP. All right. That's a lot of text. So you roll a 3d6, or if you're fancy and have a calculator that can do things, a d16 plus 2, 3 times on the appropriate chart below, which I will show you, each representing one of 3 reels in a slot machine. Note the results and the result above and below it, and place them in the reels path below, with the actual roll in path 1. After placement, the gambler, or in this case, the entrepreneur, or actually gambler, whoever is using the gamble command, may move the reels up or down a number of total places equal to the factor of their character level. Tracing a line from the reel paths, compare the result to the table for the reel set and choose the best result. For single heart and any double results, the first symbol must be in the left position, and the second must be in the center position. If no matches come up, the result is a dud, as below. Status effects, ailments, and conditions are automatic, only resisted by specific resistance, not evade or magic block, vitality, or spirit. All other effects are as the spell ability of the same name, see below. For more details, see the attack reels, Aurochs reels, combat reels, elemental reels, magic reels, random reels, status reels, and limit reels. Unless otherwise noted, damage is based on luck, style, and character level, and a D. A D, huh? The D question mark is going to be explained in the next video. It's a it's a form of a D100 that can have more than a ones and a tens place. It will be explained later on. This is a D10,000 and is potentially rollable on a D with whose damage is 4 digits wide or has 4 success factors. But that'll be explained in the next video. That was what I got, by the way. I love those dice. And then accuracy equals brave plus faith, and slots do not score critical hits. So, haha, that critical ability does not apply to the Gambler's Own slots. And then we have Gil Toss. Costs 100 AP. It costs Gil to use. Throw money. You choose how much Gil you want to throw, and then you add that squared to damage. So if I want to yeet 114 Gil, let's look at the squares table, shall we? 114 Gil is a bad example because I went up to 100. Let's say I want to yeet 36 Gil. That is 1,296 damage. And then add amount of Gil thrown to accuracy. Again, I'm throwing 36 Gil, so I add 36% to accuracy. Add the square factor of the amount of Gil thrown, or the factor, or 6, to critical hit chance. So it will, it's luck plus 6. All in addition to the throwing skill, which is here. And I will explain it to that. Max skill thrown is your level plus your throwing skill rank. So in order to throw that 36 skill, my level plus throwing skill has to equal 36. This is to avoid, cheapness of somehow you getting a lot of Gil at the start of the game and just yeeting it, and no, you don't get the money back. It's part of the random BS Go abilities of the entrepreneur. They throw that money so hard. It's kind of like Gambit throwing his cards. In X-Men, it gets charged with spirit energy and with mist, and gets destroyed in the process of being thrown. All right, now we get down to the reels. First, we have the attack reels, which cost 70 AP. Roll on the attack reels chart 3 times. Add together the resultant hits. The total is the number of hit factors scored as a piercing physical attack versus the nearest enemy. Piercing means it ignores safe, and it ignores physical defense. It just does straight damage, nothing like how Flare does in most Final Fantasies, and how Ultima does. Aurochs reels, 100 AP. Roll 3d6 versus the elemental, attack, and status reels. The number of nearest enemies equal to the result of the attack reel plus 1. Take luck plus style plus character level plus D what? Damage of the elemental type noted on the elemental rules are affected with the ailment on the status reels. That's a lot of what? So here's the elemental reels, attack reels, and status reels here. So let's say 3d6 on the attack rules, or no, I roll an 11, a 4, and a 10 in that order. Elemental reels 11 does ice damage. A 4 is 2 hits, and a 10 is poison. So I would deal 2 ice elemental hits that also apply the poison status to the nearest enemy. I'm sorry, to the nearest. What I rolled on the 3d6 plus 1, so nearest 3 enemies would take an ice poison hit. And then if, you're just doing attack reels, I rolled a 4, 11, and 10. 4 is 2, 10 is miss, 11 is miss, 2 hits. Combat reels cost 60. Roll on the basic reels chart versus the combat reels result table. So basic reels are here, and combat reels are here. And then this is the path. So again, we'll say 4, or I said 11, 4, 10. That was the order. So 11 on reel 1. So these 3, so red shield, or blue shield, red heart, yellow arrow. So blue shield would be in path 1 here. And then 4 is bar. So we got blue shield, bar. And reel 3 is 10 is blue shield. So it'd be blue shield, bar, blue shield. Let's see. 10, which is red heart. Japanese character. Which I think just means luck. I could be. It's the closest to the symbol that used to be on the actual reels in Final Fantasy X-2. I'll come up with a better symbol for that. And 10, which is up arrow. And so if we had gotten 3 of those symbols in a row in any combination of these across, these of path 1, which is what you rolled center directly across. Me just realized you guys weren't seeing all that. There's the reels descriptions. Here's the element, attack, and status reels descriptions. And all right, so yeah, path 1 here, path 2, or path 3. That lines up directly how you rolled. If I rolled a 4 on all of them, these symbols would be in path 1, 2, and 3, respectively. I rolled a 4, so that would be in path 1. Path 4 is going from top left to bottom right. So again, if I rolled a 4, that would be that symbol, bar, and red heart. And then path 5 is going from bottom left to top right. So red heart, bar, symbol. And so if you get 3 of those symbols, it's Shin Zantetsu, or Shin Zentetsu. All enemies, add the dispatch command. That is a non-death status or non-shadow element death attack. The special effect of the scimitar in Final Fantasy VI, the Zentestuken attack of both of Raiden, Odin, and Gilgamesh is also a dispatch ability. It's a dispatch that can kill undead, and it can kill machines. Bar, if you get bars all the way across, you perform Excalibur on the combat reels. Nearest enemy performs the Excalibur attack, which, going down here, we can see is a physical attack that adds faith for accuracy. So it's brave plus faith plus whatever your melee attack abilities are. The damage is as per melee attack plus intelligence, critical, and all that is based on a melee attack. It adds intelligence to damage, faith to accuracy, and deals holy damage. Then if you get 3 hearts, you perform Crippler. 3 shields, Delay Buster. 3 of those symbols, I think those were supposed to be stars. You get Fireworks, 18, centered on the nearest enemy. 3 up arrows, Intimidate. 2 hearts, and anything else, Clean Slate. 2 shields and anything else, Power Break. 2 stars and anything else, Magicide. 2 up arrows and anything else, Eject. 1 heart, Defense Break. And if you get absolutely nothing, you roll a dud on combat reels, and all allies take 75% gravity damage. Yeah, don't roll duds. But that is the effect of random BS Go of the entrepreneur / gambler. Here's all the different special abilities that can be rolled. Ultima, anyone? Here's Magicide. It's a melee attack that is also a physical attack. It damages MP instead of HP. Fireworks. If it scores a crit, it deals piercing damage, and otherwise deals a bunch of non-elemental damage, and it's a rank 18 ability. He has an ability to call on fire level 24, which is the equivalent of a strong Fyra or a weak Fyraga in most games. And that is Fyraga, I believe, in Final Fantasy X-2, which is where that ability comes from. Which you get that on the magic reels. Yep, it's Fyraga. Cast Fire 24. Thundara, cast Thunder 12. Because Thunder in Final Fantasy X-2, or Thundara, costs 12 MP. That's why it's Thunder 12. And I get some of that ideas from Final Fantasy II with their scaled abilities. Yeah, I tried to incorporate every Final Fantasy into this. The biggest of the random BS Go, the random reels. Congratulations. If you get the super luck ability 3 times, all enemies automatically defeated. Their HP is 0. Their HP gets set to 0. And you get double XP, triple AP, double gil, and double items for defeating them. And In this case, yes, that stacks with the abilities you already have. So yeah, good luck rolling to get those 3, 3, 3. Or you could have rolled a 14 in one of the first 2 reels, or a 14 on the random. So it's on the random reels. You have to roll 3 times, or a 14, 3, 3 in order to get and that has to be in one of those 3 positions in order to get. Congratulations, that's the hardest one of the hardest to rolls. On limit reels, there's also yield 7 flush, which automatically defeats all enemies, sets their HP to 0, but you don't get all the cool benefits because you have to earn the random reels. As you see, random reels cost 120. They are the most expensive reels. And then status reel. So we'll go back to these now. As we were seeing, the Aurochs reels, you roll 3d6 on the attack status, and element reels. And you deal an attack of that element that afflicts that status to a number of nearby enemies equal to however many hits you rolled plus 1. So even if you miss, you get 1 hit. Elemental reels. Roll on the elemental reels 3 times. If all 3 elements are the same, deal piercing magic damage of that element to all enemies. If 2 different elements come up, deal piercing magic damage, half in each element to the nearest enemy. If 3 different elements come up, you just deal non-elemental damage. Item reel. Roll on the basic reels chart versus the item reels table. Magic reels rolls basic and magic result. Random reels rolls on random and gets random reels results. And if we go back up here, limit reels uses random reels and limit reels. So the random reels, so most of the reels that aren't elemental, attack, status, or aurochs roll on this basic chart. Your limit break and your random reels roll on this chart. And then what you roll gets plugged into these tables. Yeah, you can get a Mega Elixir, a Light Curtain, a Mega Ether, Firaga, Ultima, centered on the nearest enemy. Because why not? Cry in the Night deals shadow damage to everything. Dark Matter deals gravity damage to everything. Get a high potion or a potion to your nearest ally. And then limit reels. Yeah, the limit reels are Setzer's reels from Final Fantasy VI. So 7 flush. So yeah, those are stars or diamonds. Yeah, those are supposed to be diamonds. If you roll bar, summon. Perform the summoner ability of call, which summons a random Esper centered on the nearest enemy. That Esper performs their limit break centered on, or their summon ability centered on the nearest enemy. So, if you randomly summon a Freak, he will cast Hellfire or Inferno on the nearest enemy. And summons do have Identify Friend from Foe, unlike spells. Spells don't care who's in the area of effect, only that there are things in the area of effect. So that Ultima 80, oh yeah, because it's all centered on an enemy. It would have a range of 16 Vertical of 4, area effect of 8. 8-inch radius on tabletop. That's a 1.5 foot diameter. Or almost a 1.5 foot diameter. Oh, and if you in any oh no, this is on the limit reels. On the limit reels alone, for some reason it didn't stay up. It didn't go up on the next page. Oh, because there's so much space here. If you roll double hearts, double shields, I guess that was supposed to be double spades, or just double up arrow, or a single heart. If you get any of these outcomes, note if you get 2 of those instead of 7 flush, which is as opposed to diamond flash, which is what the original game called 7 flush. 7 flush is the you win. But if you get 2 of those symbols and something else, you get Joker Doom, which adds dispatch and death to all allies and enemies. It kill everything. But for these outcomes, you can choose the most appropriate outcome based on the situation from the other reels lists. So if you roll 2 hearts anywhere and that's the best you can get, you can choose to do mental break, or bio, or mega ether, or clean slate, depending on the situation. Which clean slate, we look down here. It restores HP, removes all ailments, but the effects occur on your next action, which is at charge time -4. So whatever your next action would be is delayed by 4 ticks of the clock, or essentially by 4 seconds. So if you would have gone if your next action would have been at initiative 14, it's now at initiative 10. But when that happens, you restore your spirit plus 265 plus 6. It would be 16 D10 because it's X, which is 16 HP to yourself, and recover from all negative status. You just have to take a turn to do it. And I believe that's about it. This throwing skill, I believe, is on here twice. Because that should be the same as cards. Range. Vertical plus half. Oh, no, it is a little different. So we might actually ignore this. And artifacts of it, even though this was set up as a PDF, artifacts of me combining the things together. Throwing skill looks like it's the more accurate now. So you increase the range by X. No, that should have been by... Let's see what the description actually says. Add X squared to the thrown weapon's damage. Add X to its accuracy. Add the square root of X, or the factor of your throwing skill, to the weapon's critical hit and range. Add half of the factor to its vertical limit. Yeah, and the AoE stays as 1. So, yeah, and this is the throwing skill that Giltoss uses as well. As you say, in addition to throwing skill, all of this acts as a bonus to throwing. And note this calculation here for when I get to the ninja and and any other class that uses thrown weapons, like which is still under development, the Blitz Ace from Final Fantasy X. Yes, the Waka minus the reels and Tidus as a class. You get to play underwater soccer in battle. It's weird. It's an idea that I'm not myself sold on, but it's a Final Fantasy, so it has to be in it. Well, with all that, I have babbled on and on and on at you guys, going down memory lane at the first true class that I tried to make by combining two classes that really don't have anything to do with each other, but they did in my head when I made this. Let me know what you guys think. Should I combine the gambler and the merchant in this class, in a class like this? This part here, yeah, that's just something that I added to every class sheet. Here's a little spoiler list of all the classes. Of all 75 classes, that should be 75. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. No, that is more. No, that is less. That is about 60 something. That's 60 minus 3. That's 57 classes. But there's a few more that got added since then. If you've played Final Fantasy X-2, you recognize these words. These are super classes. Essentially, if you have your... I will go back to Cayman here. If you have... if you see in the bottom left-hand corner that triangle, your soul grid. In his case, he has 6 nodes on his first steps soul grid, and his core class is Red Mage. So if he had all 6 nodes filled, he doesn't. He only has Thief, Black Mage, and the Ifrit materia. But if he did, because Red Mage, as you see here, is under Floral Falal, and one of these has to be the Floral Falal soul sphere, and it has to be in his soul grid. But he could spend his limit break to morph into the Floral Falal, like in Final Fantasy X-2, in which you become a creature similar to what Yuna becomes, or similar to Seymour Omnis from Final Fantasy X. Basically, you become a wizard with 2 bits, or magical orbs floating around you that do support abilities. And any of the characters on... from here, the Animist, the Bard, the Black Mage, Blue Mage, Calculator, Chancellor, Dancer, Geomancer, Mime, Morpher, Necromancer, Oracle, Psychic, Red Mage, Sage, Summoner, Superstar, Time Mage, and White Mage can all become Floral Falals. They can serve as the core of the Floral Falal. Because if you've played Final Fantasy X-2, their superclasses or limit breaks were based on one of the characters being the core, and the other 2 joining forces with them in a big super monster thing and becoming accessories, as it were, to the main character. If an assassin, battlemaster, berserker, blitz ace, there's the Tidus class, or Tidus. Dark Knight, Dragoon, Fencer, Heaven or Hell Knight, Hero, Knight, Magitech Knight, that is Cloud, Celis, Lightning. They're all Magitech Knights. So is Squall. Monk, Ninja, Onion Knight, Paladin, Ranger, Samurai, or Warrior. They become a full throttle like Pain's ultimate class. And Machinima are for the ones that aren't melee characters. They're not magic characters. you can see this now. Yep, the ones up here, they can become a floral. These in the middle can become a full throttle, and these on the right can become the Machinima, which is the ranged / thinky one. And yeah, here's an example of an artifact of how this was just on every character sheet or every class suggestion. Merchant and Gambler are both separate classes, as are Jester and Goof Off. I combined those two classes as well, because they're essentially the same thing. So Alchemist, Archer, Beastmaster, Corsair, Engineer, Freelancer, Gambler or Merchant, together they make up the Entrepreneur. Goof Off is part of Jester now. Gunner, Mariner, Mascot, Mediator, Puppet Master, Scholar, Sniper, Thief, and Trainer. Come to think of it, Beastmaster, Trainer, and Puppet Master. There may have been some combinations of those as well. So this class list, while for the most part is a spoiler for you guys, I will be making videos on all of these eventually. Probably starting with Freelancer, because it's the very base class. Yeah. There's nothing else in here to see. With all that being said, let me know, again, in the comments below if you think Entrepreneur should be split back up into Gambler and Merchant. Essentially, Merchant had Gillionaire, Padfoot, Nose for Treasure, Eye for Distance, and I think double items. And the rest of the abilities were from Gambler, Lady Luck, Setzer, and whatnot. And it left the... because it's a Final Fantasy class, the Gambler is like... yeah, you kind of just use your slot machine in battle and hope all your random BS doesn't kill the party. And then the Merchant is just, yeah, I'm going to whack you with my abacus and get a bunch of money. So I didn't really like that, the fact that there was a character that was worthless outside of combat and a character that was worthless in combat, essentially. I want characters to have things to do in all situations, so that's why I combined the two. Let me know if you agree, and don't forget about our sale from It Came From Planet Earth. The links will be in the description and the comment section. Yeah, with all that being said, I have babbled on enough. This has been fun. Thank you for listening, if you still are, and have a good day.